if you can follow the yellow brick road of science to Oz, you will come to God.
In this video, I will analyze a segment from an episode of The Perfect Storm, during which Hamza talks about scientific evidence for a creator. I will analyze the scientific argument and then point out Hamza's emotional breakdown during the segment.
Yeah, because what you're going to realize is you're going to hit a presupposition that you're just going to have to accept on faith. And the reason you have to accept that faith is the alternative is God. And the probability of that particular presupposition being true is so astronomically bad.
Yeah.
It's blind faith. When I just say God, I'm talking about an intelligent agency behind everything. So when you follow the yellow brick road of chemistry, you will conclude that the presupposition is so absurd, there must be some intelligent design behind it. When you follow the yellow brick road of physics, and you come to, like I say, to electromagnetism, to the gravity, to the nuclear powers, you look at the Big Bang, you look at the expansion of the universe, you look at fine-tuning, you look at entropy, and all of these things, the presupposition you're going to have to accept at that point, again, is so absurd because the alternative is an intelligent mind.
So his argument is that on a probabilistic scale, it's far more likely from analysing the science to conclude that it was the result of an intelligent creator than a non-supernatural cause.
Science's starting position is always, we do not know.
No, it's not. Yeah. No, it's not.
And then we try to work it out because...
Exactly. So what do you think a presupposition is?
There is no written manual. There is no written guide. Yeah,
there is.
You have to work out what is going on and what explains.
You don't understand the scientific method, my friend. You started this conversation saying you're not a scientist. That is demonstrated by you don't understand the scientific method. Do you know what presupposition is?
No.
All right, so it's a start point that you cannot demonstrate is true.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically you're just assuming this is the way it was. So, for example, you assume random mutation can cause new proteins that can then be harnessed by natural selection to create new organs and new cells. Yeah, the presupposition is random mutation can cause a new protein to form. Yeah,
right.
Through mutation. That's the presupposition. The probability of that is so astronomically bad.
But the thing is,
ridiculous.
So Hamza is saying the probability of natural selection acting on random mutation to produce a new protein is, in his words, astronomically bad. It's ridiculous. Let's see if we can find some examples. This article here demonstrates that random non-coding sections of DNA can quickly evolve to produce new proteins from scratch. This article looking at rice plants detected at least 175 genes that originated from scratch, and that 57% of them translated into new proteins. Another example is the mutation in bacteria that enabled them to produce the enzyme nylonase, which breaks down and digests its byproducts. The genes mutated to create these enzymes. They did not already exist. Nylon was invented in 1935. This is just two examples found after a quick internet search. I could go on and on with more examples.
Do I need to be a biologist to quote what a biologist said?
No, this is the point I'm trying to make.
You see this book?
This is the point
Read it.
Okay.
I'm telling you, write it down, what I put here. Return of the God hypothesis.
And now we can begin to understand the reason behind Hamza's science illiteracy. He is using the return of the God hypothesis by Stephen Meyer as his source of knowledge.
Okay.
Trust me, read it. And you'll realize how you've been hoodwinked by the neo-atheist movement.
So my own belief here is that you should never believe one person, one biologist, one scientist, right? You should take the consensus, the body of opinion. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what you should do. So biology, is obviously run by thousands and hundreds of thousands of scientists, right?
My friend.
The caller makes a good point about scientific consensus. Having a greater number of scientists agree with an idea is just one of many factors that helps strengthen the evidence behind the idea. Often creationists will just cite a tiny number of scientists.
No, you haven't got a clue what you're talking about.
The consensus, is that certain things happen, biology works in a certain way. And that's what you have to go on.
You haven't got a clue what you're talking about. Will you stop talking? You don't know what you're talking about. I'm telling you right now, the presupposition of biology is that random mutation is what forms of protein that's harnessed by natural selection to enable evolution, right? That's the scientific, that's what they're on. And it's a presupposition that they cannot demonstrate, yeah?
Earlier on, I gave 2 examples of this, and I could have produced many more.
Science cannot explain fine-tuning.
This is an embarrassingly basic statement by Hamza. Firstly, you need to demonstrate that there is tuning before saying that there is fine-tuning. I will finish the fine-tuning argument by using the Douglas Adams's puddle analogy. Imagine a puddle waking up one morning and thinking, "This is an interesting world I find myself in, an interesting hole I find myself in. Fits me rather neatly, doesn't it? In fact, it fits me staggeringly well. It must have been made to have me in it."
Chemistry, carbon cannot just appear from nothing. It's made up of different chemicals.
Nobody ever said carbon just appeared from nothing. The mechanism of carbon production in stars is well understood.
You're talking about things that you don't know. You're saying thousands of biologists. We're talking about the tests, the experiments, and all of these things that have determined these facts.
What experiments have determined these facts? I've shown genuine experiments that count your facts. All you've done is just spew nonsense without any supporting evidence for your claims.
This is where you are. Richard Dawkins will concede random mutation is what is required for natural selection to occur. But random mutation cannot account for new proteins to have appeared on the scale in the time that was available. Can't do it.
Hamza,
Why do you think Richard Dawkins says evolution doesn't disprove God?
Richard Dawkins was always clear that evolution does not disprove God. All it does is disprove various creation myths.
The reason Richard Dawkins needs to say that, because he knows God is required for evolution to even begin.
Can we stick to, you mentioned carbon. We don't know where it comes from.
Carbon then, go on.
So,
tell me about carbon.
All right. I could just tell you that there is a clear scientific trail of how atoms became into being. Yeah.
Really? What's the scientific trail?
Yeah. If you look at the consensus of all scientists, right?
What is the consensus? Who said it?
Yeah. The scientific body, and not many people are challenging it, right, is that you had the so-called Big Bang, yeah? And within that Big Bang, yeah, before that, they have certain stages that they have proven because they need to find...
They haven't. You're waffling. I can't have this conversation. You know what you're talking about. You're just waffling. Nothing's been proven. It's hypothesis.
Yeah.
It's theory.
It has.
I'll tell you what the point of the show is, yeah? If you're going to talk about things, know what you're talking on. You came on, your opening statement was, "I'm not a scientist." I'm quoting scientist after scientist after scientist after scientist.
No, Hamza, you're reading a book by Stephen Meyer for your confirmation bias.
You're giving me some abstract group of scientists. You're saying things that are not true.
No, as far as I'm aware, the universe began with the Big Bang.
Yes.
Prior to the Big Bang, there were explanations they needed, and they formulated the inflation theory. Yeah, the inflation theory predicted certain conditions that needed observations. Those observations were confirmed further down. And this is what I'm saying, how science works, right?
Which model of inflation theory are you referring to?
I don't know how many models there are out there. How many are there?
Which one is true?
No, how many are there? I don't even know. There's several models.
I know you don't know. That's the thing. You think it's one.
I'm asking you,
one monolith.
How many are there out there, Hamza?
There's quite a few.
How many?
You can see how they've been refuted.
No, they haven't been refuted, Hamza. I really don't know. It's just...
Cosmic inflation is a theory of expansion in the early universe. The basic paradigm is accepted by most physicists. It has not been refuted.
If they've been refuted, I'm happy for you to provide me that evidence instead of saying.
I'm going to make it easy for you. Just read the flipping book.
We should all read books to broaden our horizons. That includes you as well, Hamza.
Get yourself a book, read something, gain yourself some knowledge, realize you're wrong, humble yourself, and realize, well, I came on and say I'm not a scientist, then I'm talking like I'm a scientist. When I have read virtually half this book, covering all the Big Bang and the Goldilocks universe and expansion and such, yeah. I want you to just read the book, man. Gain some knowledge. You're speaking from ignorance, and it's embarrassing. And it's insulting.
Well, you're saying it's embarrassing, but I'm not embarrassed.
It's embarrassing because what you're saying is
Hamza.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Hamza, yeah? I'm not embarrassed to admit the facts of what I don't know. That's the normal.
Look. Sorry, mate. Our show's bigger than this. You come on waffling about. You admit you don't know about the topic. You're not a scientist. They're telling all these scientists they're wrong. It's an insult to our channel. Sorry, Abbas. I'm not taking that crap. You muted. The form. The question of how carbon acquired its precise favorable resonance turned out to be just...
Stop.
Oh, come on. It's awesome.
What you read just basically said the circumstances which allow carbon to exist can't be accounted for in our current chemical models. Would that be reasonable?
It would say that, yes. So for carbon to exist in the universe, it needed to be a precise way, fine-tuned.
Bearing in mind the puddle analogy I gave earlier in response to the fine-tuning argument, the only reference I can find relating to carbon being fine-tuned is from creationist websites, quoting the astronomer Fred Hoyle from the 1950s. More recent studies demonstrate that sufficient carbon for life is produced at greater variables, so it does not need to be so precise to generate life. I will link this in the description. Even if the variables did need to be precise to generate the exact amount of carbon for life, that still does not mean that it was fine-tuned, as you haven't demonstrated that there was a tuner.
Information-rich universe. Because remember one thing, atheists, our experience tells us information can only be generated by an intelligent agency. It doesn't come accidentally.
This is another common statement from Hamza, which is mindlessly copied from Stephen Meyer. He suggests information requires an intelligence to create it. He fails to understand that information is an abstract concept that refers to that which has the power to inform. So if I see that it is raining, that is information. However, if there was no mind or intelligence present anywhere, it would still be raining. So a mind is needed to interpret the information, not generate it. With regards to DNA earlier in this video, I demonstrated how new genes can create new proteins. This is new information that did not require an intelligence to create it.
Of the God hypothesis.
By Stephen.
And the beautiful thing what this guy does, he takes the 3 recent scientific discoveries that reveal the mind behind the universe. So he takes quantum mechanics, he takes multiverse theory, he takes DNA. Like I said, all 3 sciences, the only conclusion is God. It's not God of the gaps. It's the only explanation.
For another debunk of this book, please watch the Professor Dave Explains video on Stephen Meyer, which goes into a lot of detail, in particular regarding his claims about the Cambrian explosion. I will also link in the description 3 reviews of this book which are highly critical, one of which is from another theist. Thank you for watching this, and please let me know what you think in the comments section.